Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the Designer back at it again. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love as you always do. On today's episode, we got to talk about the Chicago Bears offense stacking a couple of good days in a row here to finish out minicamp. I got to talk about the defense and how they made some things tough on Caleb Williams today. An interception was thrown, but still a good day for the offense overall. Also got to talk about Ben Johnson giving us some of his standouts, all that more on today's episode, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Today's episode is brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off in under 60 minutes, or they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas style gaming, just 30 minutes from Soldier Field. Exit 6 right off of I-80 94. All right, Bears fans, let's start with the conversation that everybody wants to hear, right? Because we've got the standouts. We got to talk about that. I don't know if you saw the Darnell Wright catch or not yet, but Darnell Wright doing some wild things. That's very exciting to see. It was good to see the offensive lineman get out there. We'll talk about that on today's episode as well. But starting off with Caleb Williams, and I think that Caleb Williams, my feeling today was that he had a really good day. I'm not going to say he had a great day because there were passes that ended up being bad. There was a throw where even Ben Johnson actually talked about it. You know, was there something going on that play? Because there was essentially nobody in the area that was anywhere near the ball, and Caleb tried to force something in there. I believe that in a real game scenario, he had the outside edge and would have had nothing but the field ahead of him. I think you probably see Caleb run that football there, tuck it, and get out. But when asked about it, Ben Johnson, it looked like a breakdown when we saw it on the field. And Caleb just tried to, force something in there. I don't know if it was a directive to try and, throw the football anyway. We don't want to see you running. We don't want to see you scrambling. Like, if you extend a play, it's different and it's something quick, but we don't want to see you running down the sideline. He said, it looked like it. Yeah. I'll have to go back and look at the tape and see exactly what happened, but it sure did look like it came off the right way. We'll have to look at it. There was a lot of really, really good teaching tape today, really good teaching tape, and essentially saying a lot of mess ups that we can point out and say, this is where we need to improve to get better here. We're not ready for prime time yet. I think that was loud and clear over the last 3 weeks of play. That is to be expected as well. We knew that was going to happen, and we'll look to take advantage of training camp to tighten up the screws and be ready for week one. I mean, Tyree Stevenson has to go down after he catches that ball as well. So there are a lot of things going on with that particular play. And I think that's the big thing, right? The mistake was made by Caleb Williams, but it's something that you can grow from. It's something you can teach from. Seemed like a broken play. Outside of that, though, I thought that Caleb had a phenomenal day. You saw a couple of times throughout the day where he's just rolling out. I think rolling out was also the theme there. There's one play, rolls out right. Beautiful dart to Rome Odunze, where it just goes through a couple of DB's hands right into the chest of Rome Odunze. He brings the ball in. There were a couple of penalties that the Bears were actually able to end up forcing on the offensive end. Defense also got a couple on them as well, or got a couple to their advantage as well. But Caleb just rolling out today, thought he made some really, really beautiful throws. He made that one throw where he's rolling left and he's throwing right, and he's got the arm out and the leg extended. You know what I'm talking about. The pass that we all just go, how the heck did he make that beautiful throw right there, 285 on the field? Had a big completion to Swift down the left sideline as well, and then end up getting a touchdown off of that. This is an 11 on 11. And here's what I'll say to this. Caleb Williams and the offense finally starting to click in a couple of built-on days here to leave minicamp. But don't think it's because the defense had a terrible day. I thought the defense played some really good football today, and they just made things difficult on the Bears, and Caleb Williams just made things even more difficult to stop. There's a couple of passes that maybe should have gone down for interceptions. There was one pass that I think hit Tyreek in the hands, and he actually wasn't able to come up with it. It bounced and hit the ground. But, of course, there's going to be those moments where the quarterback is trying to make a play, doesn't work, but somehow you get a break on it, it doesn't turn into a turnover. That happens during the season all the time. And I would even argue that we're going to see that play that Caleb threw the interception on during the season. Why? Because those are the kind of plays that Caleb Williams tries to make at times. And sometimes it works in your favor and you go, oh my God, who the heck is this kid? And other times it doesn't work in your favor. And you go, all right, well, you live to fight another day. Defense, get the ball back. Now that one would have been a pick six, so I don't know about that. But there were so many of those passes that I thought, even right before that. Caleb rolling to his left, delivering another dart to Roma Dunze, who just went up, got it through a ton of traffic, and brought the ball down. Like, it was a really good day for the offense. You can tell they're starting to understand and get comfortable with the scheme that they are putting together right now. Of course, the big conversation and the big question coming out of practice has consistently been who's been the starting left tackle. Today it was Karana Magaji, who got out there and I thought had another good day. Again, you can't tell anything without the pads, which is interesting with some of the standouts that we have on here. But I thought Karana Magaji it feels like he's learning that left tackle position and he's starting to make it his own. And you've seen nothing but continued growth. I love the fact that we were able to come back 3 days in a row, because I feel like on day one and then day two, you saw a step in the offense, a step in the right direction for the offense. And day two and to day three, you saw that continue to build. Because a lot of times last season, right, what we see the offense win a day, then the defense win 4, then the offense win a day, and then the defense win 5, and then the offense win a day, and then you're sitting there and you're going, I don't know if this offense is going to win. Feels like they're doing a lot of losing here. What's going on? But what I will say is this: like, stacking these 2 days in a row on the eve of going into basically a 6-week break. I know we got the one OTA left that will be that Roma Dunze said that he will be at, but really, you've got a lot of time here in between where you got to come back and you have to be on your P's and Q's, I'm gonna be real with you. You might not make this team because the 6 weeks off, this team has been so focused on the details. They've been so focused on the small things. Tyson Bagent was talking about it today, how before he goes to bed, he does reps with it. He does a couple of hundred reps with his left foot forward, just so that he starts to get used to how it feels, because it feels so incredibly different for him. I thought that it was really interesting to see, like, those are the things that are going to have to continue. Those are the things that are going to have to improve and get better. And there's no coaches watching you over this next 6 weeks. So you just got to go in there and put that work in yourself. You got to be in the weight room. You got to be maintaining that diet. I love how Ben Johnson said training camp is not for getting in shape. Training camp is for coming into camp in shape and getting in football shape. So to me, it felt like Ben Johnson was really did a good job with getting this offense going and keeping them on track. Now, of course, it will be seen whether they can stay on track as they go through this 6 weeks. It's fun to see this team start to build the camaraderie, though. And I said this over on the Breeze when I was talking about this as well, that this team feels like the coaching staff as a whole. And I asked Ben Johnson about the coaching staff, but the coaching staff as a whole feels like maybe there aren't these leaps and bounds strides just yet, but they're teaching something and the team is maintaining it going into the next day. They're teaching something and the team, I shouldn't say maintain, what was the right word? Retaining it. They're teaching something and the team is retaining it going into the next day. And then building on that, the team is retaining it again going into that third day here. The offense is doing that. I feel like the defense is doing that. And I'm sure the defense looks at this and say, yeah, they got a couple of touchdowns off of us. We got to have a better day. That's on us. But if we're being honest about this, like this was a day to me when you look at what was accomplished and how the defense made it incredibly tough on the offense to move the football up and down the field, that was a win for both sides of the ball. You got a pick six on one side, and they did count it as a pick six because they kicked the field goal after. So you got a pick six on one side. On the other side, Caleb's able to throw a couple of touchdowns today. Like, you had these moments where, yeah, offense is winning, defense is saying, yo, like, nah, we're not doing that. You're not punching us in the mouth. But that's the back and forth that builds a good team. Remember, all we heard was iron sharpens iron, iron sharpens iron, iron sharpens iron. Yes, it does. But somebody's got to be iron. Somebody can't be a sponge trying to sharpen the iron. And it feels like you've actually got iron on both sides, not only just with the players in the building, but also, I would say, with the coaching staff. And I think Dennis Allen versus Ben Johnson is one of the dopest competitions you're going to be able to see. And getting to see it at OTAs, I think it really showed out. I hit that like button, subscribe to the page if you have not done so. I thought it was really cool hearing Ben Johnson as well talk about evaluating himself and, of course, the staff. And he said, I'm very critical of myself. The practice probably, it can be a little bit smoother in terms of how we function. I need to communicate to everyone a little bit better, whether it's the coaching staff, the equipment staff, and I'm going to get better there. I'll do a better job once we get to camp. but I was really impressed with the entire coaching staff. We have the right mix of guys, experience, youth, energy, ideas. It's coming together, and I hope our players have really understood that it's hard to gain trust in such a short period of time, but hopefully they understand that our guys mean business. This coaching staff means business. They know what good football looks like. They know what winning football looks like, and they're committed to bringing that here. And I think that's huge for this Bears team right now, because the buy-in has to be there, and it seems like you're starting to get that buy-in. And what Ben Johnson said there at the end, they know what good football looks like. They know what winning football looks like. They know how to get you there. But you got to be the one to go out there and make plays. You got to be the one to go out there and actually finish the play. You got to be the one to catch the football. You got to be the one to throw the football. You got to be the one to be on time with your reads. You have to be the one to make that block, make that catch, whatever it is. Like, Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen can lead this team so far, but you have to have that player buy-in, and I think that's going to be incredibly important to see over this next 6 weeks, just how much of that buy-in does stick as we get into training camp. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page if you have not done so. Appreciate you guys for showing love. Want to get through one more thing before we end up getting out of here, because I think that there is a real conversation to be had on, kind of some of the standouts that Ben Johnson talked about. He gave some surprising standouts, I think. But what I will say is surprising from the sense of, you didn't expect him to say a couple of the names, but not because they weren't making plays, just because you usually expect bigger names to be called out, right? You usually expect bigger names to be the ones that get mentioned. You thought there'd be a Caleb Williams. You thought there'd be a Rome Odunze. You thought there'd be a Grady Jarrett. You thought there'd be a Tremaine Edmonds, right? And maybe there's concern there. I'm not concerned at all. Hearing some of the names here, because I think what he's doing is giving praise to people that you saw make the big plays, that we could see make the big plays. Dominique Robinson was the first one. I told you guys when I got on here Monday that I thought that Dominique Robinson was destroying Darnell Wright, but there's no pads on, so it doesn't matter. But how he was able to use his speed, how he was able to get around, I thought that he did a really, really good job of being consistent on the field and consistently forcing pressure in that backfield. And I think that that's something that I don't know if he ends up winning that third defensive end spot, but I will say this. I do believe that if he does end up winning that third defensive end spot, he fits more of the mold. He fits more of the mindset that Dennis Allen is looking for from that third defensive line spot, because I think he's listed right now at 250. He's got to be 20 pounds heavier. Maybe I'm 20's crazy. All right. He's got to be at least 10 to 15 pounds heavier. Somewhere in that 10 to 15 pound range. I thought he's put on some good weight here. He looks massive. I think that he's got a shot to actually make that third defensive end spot, because not only has he improved his size, he's maintaining the speed. And I think that that's the most important thing. You're not seeing him slow down. Now, it'll be very different with pads come on. It'll be very different with pads come on, because Darnell Wright probably is not going to get beat every play like we've seen at times here. But there are these moments where you just see Dominique Robinson in the backfield. And I think, what Ben Johnson said about him was on point, even without pads on. He's done a great job of constantly speed rush up the field and countering back to the inside. He's done a really nice job there. Then, of course, he has some special team value. He takes a lot of pride in that as well. You feel like there's a lot that Dominique Robinson can add to this team, and you just got to be able to go out there and actually do it when the pads come on. We'll see. He's somebody that I will be keeping an eye on, and hopefully we don't have to worry about him too much here going into don't have to worry about him, going back to the previous form, I guess is the best way to say it, too much going into this training camp. Hope to continue to see that work from him and continue to see him have success there. Ruben Hippolyte was somebody else that stood out. What he said about Ruben Hippolyte was he's done a nice job of learning. He's swimming a little bit, but he's taking it seriously. And Coach Richard Smith has done a fantastic job with him over the course of the last few weeks. On offense, I'm sorry. He also said, I thought a player we probably saw the most improvement from when he stepped out on the field to now was Ruben Hippolyte, was how that started. I knew there was a line missing in there. But, hearing that about Ruben Hippolyte, the one thing that I will say, and I got a chance to really lock in on him today, getting to see him out there, he does seem like he's improved a ton with the coverage. I mean, it's a more set up thing, but I think coverage is something that you actually can see um, on the field right now. It's not something that's like, I don't know if that's really happening. No, like either a guy's really covering or he's not. I do think that he's improved in coverage. Maybe it was something that they haven't used with him, didn't use with him in college. And I thought that was going to be his biggest hurdle. The speed makes it good. Somebody else that he praised, Joel Wilson. I thought that he did a good job today keeping up with Joel Wilson, staying in front of him, making sure that he was on his hip at all times. And you saw that a couple of times in some of the second team reps with those two out there. But just the fact that you're talking about the growth of a young man who, to me, honestly, was just speed. I was like, he's fast. Like, yes, he's very fast. He's going to be the third linebacker. I think there may be a conversation that you can have to say not only could he be the third linebacker, but if he's improving this quickly, that tells you the intelligence that this young man has. It's about learning the system. It's about knowing the scheme. It's about knowing where to be. If he's improving this quick, this fast, in essentially 5 weeks of work, you know what I mean? Like, that's a great place for this young man to be already leaving camp and now heading into the 6 weeks off and then back into training camp. Can he maintain that? That's going to be the real question here. Offensively, Joel Wilson was somebody who was brought up. And me and Clay Harbor from CHSN have been talking about Joel Wilson a ton up at practice. And that is his camp darling. Mine is JP Richardson. JP, if you want to come on the show, come on the show. I hope you make the team, brother. I think that both of our camp darlings are in danger of not making the team. Tight end and wide receiver are two tough positions to make this team at right now. But when he talked about Joel Wilson, he said he's a little savvy in how he moves. He has a nice route feel to him. The test will really be when he gets going in camp, how he holds up in the run game and in the pass pro game. But so far in running routes section of tight end play, I think he stood out in a positive light. Made a really nice catch today from Caleb Williams. Ball got thrown up there, and he just kind of went up there and got it, pulled it over to DB, got both feet inbounds before getting pushed out of bounds. I think those are the kind of plays that you see him make. He's really good, really fast off the line, good route runner. I think he's somebody that they brought in with like, hey, like you've got a little bit of a Colston Loveland feel to you. While we don't have Colston here, we would love to have you step in so that Caleb can kind of get used to playing with this kind of tight end. But you just saw a consistency out of Joel, where I think even let me see, did Ben say it here? Yeah, he says it right here. So you saw him today with a big catch. He's kind of had one of or two of those every OTA practice. He's somebody we talk about just about every single OTA practice. So I think that he is somebody who I'm not surprised is a standout because he's trying to find his way in this league. I don't know if it'll be on this team, but I do think that he makes a name for himself to where, hey, I could be a pass catching big out of this backfield. We'll see. I think the run game is probably where he gets a little bit hemmed up. He's a receiver. He's a tall receiver essentially. So I think the run game is where you see him get a little bit more hemmed up here, but we'll see what ends up happening with Joel Wilson here as we head towards the 6 weeks off and get ourselves ready here for training camp. The final player, and I thought this was big because of yesterday. You saw you didn't see it, but you heard about the touchdown pass from Caleb Williams to who? None other than, because you know I'm a big Kyle Monangai. He's really stepped up. And I think that you're seeing him continue to grow. You're seeing him continue to develop. You're seeing him continue to do things like in the pass pro game. I think he's been, somebody who just really knows where he needs to be and is just playing his route. Well, I talked about him and Ozzie Trapillo in very similar ways, right? Like Ozzie, as of course, second round pick to seventh round pick, nowhere near the same range. But I talk about both of them as like, they're the technical tacticians that are going to make this team, because not just because the Bears drafted him, although Ozzie, a second round pick, is probably because the Bears drafted him, but because when you look at him though, it's just like he just does the job right. He just does the job the right way. And I don't know who ends up winning the left tackle job. It would seem like Karan Amagaji is going to be there because you saw him in that third day of practice, and the Bears wanted to have this thing set by training camp. You saw him in that third day of practice out there as the number one yet again. Maybe it's because they kind of feel after watching Ozzie's tape. I think Ryan Poles said this. I almost said Ozzie Guillen. I think Ryan Poles said this at one of the interviews after drafting Ozzie, was you get bored watching his tape because he just does the job so well on a consistent basis. That's kind of how it feels. Like you watch Ozzie on a consistent basis and it's just like, yep, look at that. Didn't let the guy get through. Formed up well, nice left hand, kept him at bay, pushed him past Caleb, yada, yada, yada. Run block game, play run to his left side. I think you see a lot of that same thing with Kyle, where you kind of go, yep, look at that. 4 yards up the middle. Like, shocked to see that. Not really. Like, it's kind of what you expected from him here. When you get to that outside, I do think the pass catching is going to be something where I think he has shown improvement in it throughout camp. I think it's also something where that is it was just underutilized almost in college, right? It's not even to me that he couldn't pass catch or it wasn't a part of his game. And I asked him about this a couple weeks ago when we got a chance to talk to him. It's just it wasn't what he was asked to do, but he was like, I'm on the jugs machine every day. I can catch. Okay. All right. Like, and then you get to see it in practice. And I do think that he stands out as well. I think he's got a great chance of making this team. Just for the simple fact that you don't know what you're going to get right now with Roschon Johnson health-wise in the season. I think Roschon is somebody they want to be the pinnacle of all of this, but you don't know what you're going to get health-wise from Roschon. I think same thing with DeAndre Swift right now. It's just the question marks on that 4.5 between the tackles. Can you get there? Can you get that consistently? Remember, Eric Bieniemy talked about that over on Jeff Joniak's podcast. Can you get those 4.5 yards between the tackles on a consistent basis? And if you can, that's where you're going to thrive at. Like, we'll see what ends up happening. But that running back room right now, while I think that you're seeing better, and I get it, right? It's early on, no pads, all of that conversation, but I think you're seeing better pass catchers than maybe I anticipated out of that backfield. So it'll be fun to see what the Bears do there. I think right now where this team is at, it's good to see them be able to stack a couple of days in a row as they head into this 6 weeks off. You are going to have some of those young guys coming in next Tuesday for OTAs, or they have 3 days. We'll be there next Tuesday, but you are going to see some of those young guys coming in. Roma Dunze going to be one in the building as well. So good to see all of those guys getting back out there and getting to work. And I would assume that means Caleb Williams is there. You know what I mean? I don't think that he would have his quarterback or his young wide receiver out there and like the only person throwing on the ball is, I guess you got Case Keenum though, who, by the way, it is so funny to me watching Case Keenum work with backups. That is one of the funniest things in the world to me, watching Case work with backups, because he's still a NFL quarterback that's used to seeing number one NFL defenses. So like when you watch him go through this whole process and stuff like that, it's just like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's really good. He's like eviscerating the defense. So we'll see what ends up happening in the long run. But I'm excited about what we're seeing from this Bears team overall. I think this is a good place for you to be at OTAs, at minicamp. And hopefully there is this carryover that gets us through the 6 weeks of the summer where we basically got nothing to talk about but fun, and then we get to training camp. We'll let you guys know everything that is coming up with the Chicago Bears, and of course keep you posted here on the Chicago Bears podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe on the Chicago Bear down. One love. Peace.